Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said in a US television interview that his country was moving steadily closer to normalizing relations with Israel. And this statement, it has evoked a strong reaction from Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi, who called any normalization between Saudi and Israel as a betrayal.
And the reaction was expected. You knew there were a lot of ripples which will come from the Arab world. It is seen as a betrayal to the people of Palestine. When asked to characterize talks aimed at long-time foes Israel and Saudi Arabia reaching a landmark agreement to open diplomatic relations, Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said in a US television interview that his country was moving steadily closer to normalizing relations with Israel.
There is approach from President Biden administration to get to that point. For us, the Palestinian issue is very important. We need to solve that part, and we have a good negotiations continue till now. We gotta see where it will go. We hope that it will reach a place that it will ease the life for the Palestinians and get Israel back, as a player in Middle East.
Now, in response, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi has accused Saudi Arabia of betraying the Palestinians by seeking to normalize relations with Israel. He said, and I'm quoting here, "We believe that a relationship between regional countries and the Zionist regime would be a stab in the back of the Palestinian people and of the resistance of the Palestinians."
Now, the Palestinians, Raisi added that US should show goodwill after quitting the nuclear deal. All this took place in the backdrop of a meeting between US President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He opened the meeting by saying that America's relationship with Israel was ironclad, further adding they would discuss some of the hard issues as well, including checks and balances, a reference to the ongoing tensions over the Israeli leader's judicial reform efforts.
We're working on a lot more together. Today, we're going to discuss some of the hard issues, and that is upholding democratic values that lie at the heart of our partnership, including checks and balances in our systems, and preserving a path to a negotiated two-state solution, and ensuring that Iran never acquires a nuclear weapon. Because even where we have some differences, my commitment to Israel, as you know, is ironclad. I think without Israel, there's not a Jew in the world that's secure. I think Israel is essential. And I look forward to discussing all of this with you and working together with your team to fulfill those.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stressed common goals in his opening remarks. He said that under Biden's leadership as the president, they can forge a historic peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia, further adding that he would uphold democratic values despite his proposed changes to Israel's court system, given the concerns about Netanyahu's commitment to democratic checks and balances.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joe, we've been friends for, I've checked it, over 40 years, and our friendship goes a long way and can take us a long way. I'm delighted to see you. I think we live at a time of great promise, but also grave danger. You just spoke about that great promise in the G20 meeting that you participated and led. You spoke about an economic corridor that would link Asia, the Middle East, and Europe together, and such a corridor will make Israel a very important hub on a highway of unprecedented prosperity. But I think, and you think, that it can do something much bigger than that. I think that under your leadership, Mr. President, we can forge a historic peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And I think such a peace would go a long way, first, to advance the end of the Arab-Israeli conflict, achieve reconciliation between the Islamic world and the Jewish state, and advance a genuine peace between Israel and the Palestinians. This is something within our reach.
Now, there have been lengthy discussions between Israel and the US leadership. US and Saudi Arabia, they were having certain frosty ties, but India got them on the same table right here at the G20 summit in New Delhi. And now, of course, we're seeing ties brewing between Saudi Arabia and Israel as well. So for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sends us this report from New York, talking about how these ties will brew further. Take a listen.
President Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu exchanged pleasantries at the beginning of their meeting here on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly outside of the UN headquarters. However, it's no secret that the two men are at odds on a couple of issues. First, how to deal with Iran's nuclear program and its threat to the region, and also Netanyahu's desire to overhaul his judicial system. However, the two sides seem to be getting closer in finding a pathway regarding Israel's normalization with Saudi Arabia. However, before the meeting, two Likud members within the Netanyahu government warned Prime Minister Netanyahu that during his meeting with President Biden, he should be mindful of not giving any concessions to Saudi Arabia or agreeing to any, considering the fact that it has been reported that Saudi Arabia may ask for more concessions in order to normalize ties with Israel, notably when it comes to the Palestinian question. Nonetheless, President Biden said that he hoped to see Prime Minister Netanyahu in Washington before the end of the year.
Now, Susan further elucidates on the meeting between President Joe Biden as well as his Brazilian counterpart Lula da Silva as well. Listen in.
President Biden and his Brazilian counterpart Lula da Silva on Wednesday launched an initiative to improve labor conditions in their countries as the United States looks to improve its relations with its South American neighbor. Both sides also talked about their commitment to democracy. According to a Biden official, this initiative will start as a bilateral one and then more countries will be invited to join. But it's no secret that the two men don't see eye to eye on a number of issues, including U.S. embargoes on Cuba and also how to deal with Russia's aggression against Ukraine. After all, it was just one day before when Lula took to the podium at the UNGA and called for some kind of negotiated settlement and dialogue to the ongoing conflict. And the Biden administration was somewhat frustrated back in April when Lula suggested that a club of nations, including Brazil and China, should mediate to end the war.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.